I feel like it's a useful exercise to go into our memory recall and try and think of your first impression of everyone on staff. And Baguera, I think, is a really interesting one because I met Bugera. Bugera is one of the few people that I met in person first.
Oh, wow.
If any other than you.
Yeah, that's
like,
a good
I think
point.
that is, no, James Marshall. No, Barbo. Yeah, no, I think Bugera is one of the unique ones that I've met in person. Bugera and maybe James Marshall. Not James Marshall, James McIntosh. James.
I met Killian before I knew him online.
When did you meet Bugera?
I mean, when did I meet him for the first time?
Yeah, or do you remember your first interaction with him online?
Oh, man, I think the first time I met him in person was here, actually, Pure Muscle and Fitness, right? October 2021. Online, I interacted with him a lot. He's literally been to, like, every single lab I've ever done for, like, PSL1, weightlifting, collective, any of that stuff. He's been there.
First thoughts?
He's a voice of authority.
Yeah, intimidating.
Yeah, I don't even know if intimidating is the right word for me. It's he definitely has like the intellect to be intimidating, but it comes from a really good place.
Yeah.
Where he lays the law, but he does it in a way that's very inclusive and inviting. So he's dad.
It's hilarious to me because when you meet him, you're like, holy shit, you're way bigger than I thought you were on the internet.
Huge.
He is huge. He's like 6'2".
Yeah, aside from you, he might be the biggest cat guy I've ever met.
Yeah, he's definitely got me beat on the cat guy thing.
He's a bigger cat guy, but I think you're a bigger human.
Yes, man, when we first found Nugget, our friendship blossomed. Like, oh my God, he had someone, dude, he gave me homework. There was YouTube videos. I was like, dog, I can't do this with you, man. Like, I can't, like, he, like, with voice notes. The number of voice notes, I just left them on red. I was like, I can't. So you see, when your cats are young, I'm like, oh my God, man, like it's a fucking cat. This thing survived in a parking garage. I have a 2-bedroom condo. It's going to be fine. Like we have central air. Like this thing is whatever, dry food, wet food, the fucking thing you're doing right now. Like, let me just stop you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met him in person in Winnipeg at a seminar we were doing for Good Life. And academically imposing would be an understatement.
Right.
But it comes from a good place, which is rare.
Right.
Because usually academic imposition comes from I'm going to swing a big dick place.
Exactly.
Right? And so where he's just like, yo, I just want everyone to be better. Mm-hmm. And his involvement in the collective is
he's the
so
man.
Valuable.
Absolutely.
Like watching him interact with all the other coaches in collective and just having them gain perspective from his wisdom is a word that comes to mind. Dad, wisdom, cats. These are all words that when I say them, I think Eric Bugera. And you'll see this today. Like he does not miss a beat. There's no there's no there's no anything. There's just bars. Yeah. And so to be well spoken. If you guys listen to our podcast with Broderick Chavez, he talked about the idea of language and thoughts, and to be well spoken is to think well,
right?
Because you think in words, and if you don't have those words, then you can't really think as in depth or as intuitively as you might want to. But he is a fucking laser beam, man. Like you get him going, and it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, steady cadence. No veering off course. If he does, it's purposeful. Probably one of the best speakers I've ever seen. Just off the cuff, second to none.
Yeah, absolutely.
So super lucky to have him on. As is Brandon Schultz coming up, breathing webinar.
Yeah.
If you guys are interested, Brandon Schultz is sort of our resident breathing expert, which a lot of people are like, what the fuck breathing? It's like, yeah, dude, we do it all the time, and there's probably ways to do it better.
Yeah.
Turning over the big rocks, and breathing is definitely one of them. Schultz's webinar is coming up. Head to www.pre-script.com. Check that out. As you would say, as you've learned, huge beauty. Huge beauty. That as well as Phil Smith, nutrition course centered around nutrition for sports performance. If you guys haven't, go back, check out his most recent podcast with us just to get a feel for it. But without any further ado, Eric Bugera.
Enjoy.
Lundy, hit it.
You're tuned in to RX'D Radio.
You know what's bigger than I thought when the first time I saw it? This motherfucker. Easily. It's so funny to see pictures.
So
it's like if we were Russian nesting dolls, we'd all be inside him. Like there'd be everyone would be inside of Stu, and then Stu would be inside of you.
That's
You're like
the internet, man.
the most low key huge guy ever. You're pre-script dad.
Yeah.
You become pre-script dad.
Low key, what am I, the oldest?
Are you the oldest?
You might.
I mean, Dwayne's the oldest.
Dwayne. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
grandpa.
He's elder statesman.
working,
He's an oracle.
Yeah.
Which kind of like you guys have like your path through academia is more similar than ours. Like we went a weird clinical route, where you guys went more like the academic research route. And was that like your, like I always ask the question because it was interesting to me, but apparently you guys don't have guidance counselors in the West Coast. Like when you were growing up, you're like, hey, high school guidance counselor, I want to study this particular type of exercise, immunology, get into fitness through this gateway, be a coach trainer, and then end up talking on the internet with these two schmelts.
So my active memory of the entire experience through high school, like the last year, they're like, you probably should consider something for your future. Like either you're going to get into the workforce immediately, a trade, or maybe university. They throw a brochure at you pretty much. And it's for the University of Manitoba where I went. It's like, here's all the general programs, like all the faculties. Figure it out. Like if you want to come talk to someone, maybe. But for me, it was like, I had no, my hobbies were like football and video gaming. I had no real direction. And then I had just gotten into working out more seriously, like through high school. And I was like, well, this serves me. Like I don't have any real like drive toward, like there's no pull towards anything else. I was like, well, kinesiology, the art of working out or the science of working out. I'm like, sick, let's do that. And at least if I come out of here with something that serves my goals, then we're good. You go through the streams, like the specifics, like you have kinesiology itself,
like public health and all
like
that shit.
phys ed, athletic therapy, and like those are the three majors. Phys ed, obviously you go into teaching, you pair it with like other subjects through actual, like I'm going to teach in a classroom, and then you can go back and forth or primarily be a phys ed teacher with that as your fallback or whatever, however it works. AT, athletic therapy, eventually can parlay into physiotherapy, or you stay as an AT, whatever you're going to do. Kinesiology is like, you can be a personal trainer.
Kinesiologist.
Yeah, like especially then, because like I graduated initially in like 2011.
Okay.
The kinesiologist is a very vague term back then, at least from my active memory of the experience, because like coasted all the way through because I was doing it out of effectively pure interest. And then I realized about partway through, like, okay, I got to probably make money off of this at some point. And the only thing, I'm not going to be an AT because I'm not, perceptionally, I wasn't like.
Could you imagine this guy taping an ankle? Like, get the fuck back out there. You're such a pussy. Like, here, let me, coach, put me in. Fuck this kid. They're all soft.
That's the fucked up part though, is like it never had that self-perception that I had, like intelligence in what I was doing. It was always just like absorb the material from the books, regurgitate, and then find yourself in a real scenario and be like, wait, what did it say? Every single time, until I'm put on the spot over and over and over, and then either it just Manchurian candidates all the way back out and I can do it flawlessly, or I've seen enough times where I actually book to in person to I understand this and I can actually go a couple layers deeper.
Just pattern recognition after a while.
But yeah, it was like either you're going to go those avenues, of which phys ed, no.
It's funny as him as an AT, him as a fucking high school gym teacher.
Just dodgeball.
He'd be white guy Coach Hines. He'd literally be white guy Coach Hines.
But like it was that or AT and physiotherapy. Like I didn't perceive that I had the grades to get in physio, because physio in Canada is exceptionally difficult at this stage.
Yeah, that's why. Why do you think I'm a chiropractor, dog? Like, get out of here.
And as like an adjacent, like you said about AT, like now as I have more experience and belief in my own knowledge, I'm like, I kind of wish so I could just be like, fuck everything else, just let me do this myself, right? But graduated and I'm like, all right, cool, let's do personal training, because that's the only thing that this straight kinesiology stream can afford me, that I can maybe make money off of, or at least that was my understanding. That lands you in the commercial gym scene, and then the rest is like, we've all sort of been down that road, and eventually you just find yourself, either you're going to do that forever, work yourself through the management system of the same sort of company, or burn yourself out and find yourself back in school.
Right.
So,
well, it's interesting because I find that like there's two, I don't know if this is so bad to say, but like there are 2 or 3 types of personal trainers. 2 more on the academic inclination. One is like a college program, like a 2-year certificate. And then one is like, you know, a kinesiology route. And the third is just experiential, and in a time where prerequisites weren't there. And like some of the greatest trainers I know are more from that bin, because they're they lean on that pattern recognition, which becomes a majority of the career, and they can get great results, but maybe don't have a principles framework to adapt from. But I feel like the kinesiology students that get into that trap end up diluting to the common denominator, because there's just not enough of them, because most people will take like a 2-year route, and it's just very like, I'm training you to do this job, to be this cog in the machine. So it's like to have the wherewithal, the foresight to be like, oh, okay, I need to go back and explore different avenues. Like, was that tough to be like, I'm going to go, because it's like, it's more money, it's more investment, it's more fucking some other schmelt telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Was that just like, oh, dude, I could, but...
Like, it was interesting to me because, like, I reached the top at the time of what I could do as a personal trainer, like hour-wise, whatever, and it's just like, now it's just wait to earn more money. Like, keep doing what you're doing for X amount of time, and you'll get the promotion to a new level or whatever. And then it's just this forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, daunting.
Sick. This, like, and as you guys have probably experienced, the more plates I have spinning, the happier I am, even though it can get stressful, right? Like, if I'm told the only progression I have is just keep doing it, buddy, you made it. That's panic, right? So going back, I was like, under the guise of how can I serve my clients better? More so, how can I serve my own training better?
Right.
So we do a 2-year nutrition degree because it's expedited, because I already have a 4-year undergrad.
Right.
Get back into the field after realizing I can't actually use this in any capacity, aside from telling people I can't use it in any capacity.
Right, yeah.
Like, because like, I couldn't be, like, that was the other prong of it. You could go full RD, like registered dietitian. At the time, that's an unpaid internship. I'm already poor because I am financing a second degree.
Right.
I was a successful personal trainer, but entry level, so it's not like I socked away a ton of cash doing that.
Right.
So I was like, all right, let's go back in the field and just look better, feel better, and know more, except know what I can't do, as opposed to what I can then offer someone as more information or more value.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't really sold on going back at the end, because I finished everything with flying colors, because I kind of knew through first undergrad, like high school, I coasted through, was like B student because it's high school.
Yeah.
Undergrad, first year I got murdered because they actually expect you to try a little bit on your own. Everything after that, like, slowly chipped it back up. But it was, again, like B+ student after for kin. Through the learning how to be a personal trainer, like learn how to actually be an adult in the workforce, I learned my systems of success, like the burning boats, right? And then went back in the second degree, it was like ACEs.
Yeah.
That, and then as I'm like getting to the point where I don't know if this is what I want to do, still go back to be a personal trainer, that's when I got claws sunk into me. I was working in the gym at the time, and just a kinesiology prof was like, hey, have you considered a master's degree? Grades were there, like light scholarship enough to like subsidize my course maybe,
Right.
but like just the low hanging stuff, because I never really was fortunate enough to like get a full ride through the system. But it was like, either you go back and just pretty much do the exact same thing, maybe with like one step up the tier in advancement because you went and got a degree, to skip the line a little bit, or you go down grad school, and the whole time in the back of my mind it's like, okay, what does this get me? And by that I mean, like, my parents are like, okay, what does this get you?
Right.
Like, how does this advance you further than what my previous degree would have? Because at that stage, it didn't really offer me too much more unless I would have gone that RD route and had a complete, distinct, separate career. So in grad school, I'm like, authority, and just banked on it, which worked because I was very successful based upon the back of like, okay, you're entering the workforce as a personal trainer again. Oh, you have a master's degree. We're just going to filter everybody to you, and then everybody else is also going to self-filter themselves to you, because maybe 2-year certificate, most likely weekend certificate,
Right, yeah.
master's degree. I'm
Yeah.
investing 10 to 20K, master's degree.
Right.
Right? So it made the job the second time a lot easier. But again, it's like, as you've experienced in the field, your webinar rant, like how far down the tree of this information do I actually use for each and every single individual, right?
But I think you kind of hit it with like your systems, right? It's funny because thinking of it now, I've always looked at training like a trade, right? And when you look at it like a trade, it makes a lot of sense to get people into it early, because I've always felt it's complemented my academic pursuits, because it's allowed me to, like, you're, in a sense, I mean, we talked about this, you're creating a job for yourself, but there is a sense of ownership over your time, which you don't necessarily have in other jobs that you could do during or after like an academic pursuit.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're a kid in school, you're like, oh, I can't, I got so much to do. It's like, dude, you just are terrible at managing your time.
Yeah.
And nothing will teach you how to manage your time. Like, okay, like I get paid, I got a client from 6 a.m. to 7, and my next one is at 11 p.m. and you just sit at the gym all day in the back and talk about how hard it is to get clients. It's like, dude, get the fuck. So the idea that, I mean, the fact that you looked at that and goes, this gives me authority. I like authority. Like that was such a fit for me. But the fact that, you know, like that ownership of your time and time management being such an asset that really, I mean, training will teach you time management, or it'll eat you alive.
It's like every prong you go through in life, like high school, it's fuck all. You have no responsibilities.
Right.
Like you can show up or not and get through it for the most part.
Yeah.
Every single time you go up, it's like the hardest thing you've ever done. I got crushed in my first year of university, and then I came back for a second degree afterwards, and it was like, this is the easiest shit I've ever done in my entire life, because I know how to song and dance my way through this for straight A's.
Yeah.
Suffering where I did in my initial career my gym placement for the initial prong of my career, that was in a location that had no people really. It was like in downtown Winnipeg, and downtown Winnipeg is not the same as most other downtowns. It is very, there are a lot of businesses there, but not a lot of residential anything's going on. So if people are going to go to that gym, it's like, I'm going to bike downtown for work, I'm going to park it here, I'm going to shower, and then I'm going to go to work, and then I'm going to leave afterwards. Or I'm going to go to the midday class, right? The amount of bodies through that gym, in order for you to be successful, like you either had to suffer for a long time, which I did, or you had to be on. And then eventually those two things line up, and I realized how to win in that situation. That made the master's degree not easy, because I was wading blindly into a thing that I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew how to suffer at that stage.
Right.
That got me through that.
What a skill.
way.
What a skill.
That got me through that, and it's still like something my wife will always refer back to. It's like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen you do in your entire life, like how dead I was all the time.
Yeah.
And that's like the reference point for everything moving forward.
Yeah.
Like getting into the career again, like I've reset my business several times thinking I was leaving, like just trail everybody out and then realize, oh, I'm staying.
Yeah. Whoop.
Oh, I have nobody?
Nope.
Sick, I got bills. Like, but I know how to suffer. I know how to make shit work. I've done it before. You referred to it as a trade. I referred to it as a craft the whole way through.
Sure, yeah.
And that's why I always sort of found myself back to either the commercial gym scene, because I always felt like the average person still deserves training from someone that treats it like a craft,
Right.
not like a job. And that's kind of like how it parlayed into getting into trainer education, what we're doing now, and like the sort of vantage point I take on how I build out all the conversations, the lab facilitation, everything I'm trying to do is to give those perspectives to the kids coming up as well.
Yeah, it's funny, like the suffering calibration tool it's just the biggest thing, because one thing that drives me insane in the industry right now is the low standard that's set for people to attain, right? From professionalism to education to like just understanding like the scope. Like you said, when you went back and did your nutrition for 2 years, just like, okay, now I know what I can't do.
Yeah.
Right. And that better defines what you can do. Right.
Yeah.
Like you know, a lot of people are punching in the dark, but it's way easier when you turn the lights on. You're like, oh, okay, like I know where everything is now. It's way easier. But when you think about most people in the industry, one of the biggest things they run into, or one of the biggest self-critiques of people on their way out of the industry, is burnout.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't. When someone comes, oh, man, I feel really burnt out. It's like, okay, like fundamentally, are you not passionate about this? Or do you not understand what this is? And then, spinning back to our earlier conversation, do you manage your time well? Yeah. Like, can you see this? Like, oh, okay, I'm in downtown Winnipeg. If you haven't been, a great place to get gas. But other than that, it's, when we went, Alora and I went in the dead of fucking winter, Distillery? Or is that Edmonton? That's Peg.
That's Edmonton.
Okay. Where did we do Peg? No, we did it at your club.
It wasn't my club.
Oh my
it
God,
was my rival club.
Such a long, it's just, it goes on forever. It doesn't, Winnipeg, and here's for the Americans, Winnipeg is a cold Jacksonville. We were talking about Jacksonville earlier. It's unnecessarily large for the number of people that live there.
Yeah, it's accurate.
It's like, all right, hey, like.
It just sprawls. It keeps going
sprawls,
up.
yeah. It's like, it doesn't build up at all.
No.
The highest building in Winnipeg is a 3-story house.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So it's just like, and it's desolate, it's fucking cold, it's balls all the time. But it's like, you have the wherewithal to be like, my time is not better spent on the gym floor prospecting for the same 3 old people every afternoon. Yeah. So you didn't necessarily get burnt out from that. And you were able to manage your time, build systems, and actually take like an accurate cross section of where you're at and where you wanted to go. Because when people say burnout, it's like, oh, you just haven't you don't have no perspective.
You're inefficient.
Yeah, that's the wild thing about people that speak that way, because like under no circumstance, we had the question in the lab about teaching the same content over and over and over, and it's like, you're not the same person I've taught this to before, though. Right. Like, I get to give you the passion I have for this topic over and over to a new brain, new set of eyes, new person that's going to have a ripple effect. Like that, every single time you do something, it has impact. Yeah. So to be burnt out because you're literally just physically tired is one thing. To be burnt out because, I have to do the thing that I literally wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Sick. You have a choice.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. You have a choice. You chose this. And it's like, you trust me, you don't want to have a job that's not stressful.
Yep.
Right? Like you said, you're like, I graduated 3 weeks ago and I'm at the pinnacle of my career. And I just need to wait until some fucking schmuck that I'm more qualified says, all right, it's time for you to get a raise. Right? You saw that, you're like, duh! And like you were like, I need to change this.
Keep doing what you're doing, and in a year we'll have the same conversation, which, like if that's the where the buck stops for a career and like you're happy with that, like cool. Right. Mm-hmm. But again, if you are like everything I've done throughout my life, same with you guys, like everything keeps it. If you're stagnant, it's just like
you get left behind, dog.
Right?
World spins.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with each step that you've taken,
right.
But like it gets so boring. Not to go back on what we just literally said. Yeah. But when you develop mastery in the thing, you devote less attention to it to keep the skill or the quality of that thing high.
Right. It's the same with training.
You don't have to think about your PSL 1 lectures at all. You walk in.
Don't remember doing some of them.
Right?
Like,
exactly.
Oh, fuck. Did I sleep through that?
When you first wrote the fucking manual, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And now you're writing a second manual and you have your system and it's like, it's still scary, but you know kind of how to do it.
Right.
To be a trainer and just to be able to backburn it and do it the highest possible level, because you kind of understand how you're doing it for almost everybody, and then be told, okay, wait a year. I don't have hobbies. Like, what am I supposed to do with that time?
Right.
Right? Like, when you do one thing really well for your entire life and you've made it like your life's passion, life mission, like, to not have an ability to grow that and keep expanding it, like, what do you do with yourself at that stage?
It's a logical progression, though, right? To move from educating a person to educating a group of people, right? Because that's all you're doing in a training session. And that's what you're doing right now is you're scaling your career, right? Yep. You're taking it from one at a time to training the people that are training the people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what it's about. It's like versus, we talked about building a business versus creating a job for yourself. That's what you're doing is you're scaling your business model right now, is that this can be more effective for more people, even though you're doing the same shit. You're just being more effective, more efficient because you're scaling your systems now.
Well, I think something to highlight there is the iterations that took towards mastery of that one-to-one education. Because a lot of people are like, trying to skip the queue. Like, I have 12 clients. I'm going to teach 12 trainers. It's like, dude, are you fucking joking me? Like, you've been training for 3-4 years. You didn't go back to school, do nutrition, come back, do masters. Like, that's really, and because when I see that, it's like, I don't want to say respect, but I'm going to use the word respect. Like, you don't respect what this profession can do. Yeah. And as a consequence of that, no one else does either. And that's what bothers me is like, I've seen training save more lives than ICU surgeons, ER surgeons, so anything. True. Training has saved more lives without a doubt. And yet it's still like looked at a weird way. And it's really because it's the standard is so low, right? Because you have these people who are like, I'm getting paid and my clients are losing weight. It's like, is that what the job is to you? Are you fucking serious? Like, train your clients so well that their physician tells them that, oh wow, like you can get off your blood pressure medication now, or like, oh, you don't need like your SSRI, and like know your scope and know it well enough to know that that's not within it. But if you know your scope so well, it'll indirectly start to touch these things, and they'll be like, who's your fucking what are you even doing? It's like, oh, like, my trainer writes like my cardio for these days and like writes suggests my macros on these days, whatever. And it's just like, oh, wow. Because if every trainer, if even more than 5% of trainers were like that, insurance companies would be like, oh, personal training, here you go. Because that ICU surgeon or that ER surgeon, when someone has a fucking heart attack or someone has a stroke or something, like what is it, 9 of the 10 deadly diseases in the US are preventable through what we do. Yeah. And it's just like, they're so shit that even though shit rolls downhill, doesn't even make it to us. It's like, and that's like, I think your story is so quintessential of someone who's in your position, and so many people try, but it's like, you can't fake it. Like, you got to do the reps. You got to, because like the cyclical nature of like, there's a principle called circumambulation. It's like, think of climbing a mountain. If you climb a mountain this way, every revolution becomes easier because it's closer together, right? So it's like, yeah, when you first start, you're like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. All right, I guess I'm going to go back to school. All right, oh, wow, I have this nutrition thing, sick. And it's like, all right, well, fuck, man. Like, getting that nutrition thing was fucking brutal. All right, I have to do what? I have to train 20 clients a week? Oh, easy. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go get a master's. Wait, what do I have to write? Dissertation? Fuck, citations. What's AMA? What? Chicago-style citations? And you go back into the profession, it's like, oh, okay. There's a like, that is such a, because you've calibrated, right? Yeah. It's like, you know the difficulty of that diameter that you've traversed in the initial part. Now that you're up here, you're like, you literally got it wrapped around your fucking finger.
Mm-hmm. Side note.
Yes.
During my data collection, because I had to do a thesis-based.
Yeah, let's move into that.
Coursework. Just to like track with what you're saying about like, as you develop those life experiences, you realize how simple the previous things were. Just trained client, I have to track workouts. I have to schedule people in. There was a strike, an academic strike, like the professor strike, basically went down the second I'd scheduled out my entire data collection. My academic advisor was a part of the strike, and we at the literal last second either had to wash all my data collection scheduling, which involved several blood draws for like 11, 12 people, like multiple training interventions, the whole thing, like 2 months probably straight of scheduled out with a phlebotomist, with everything. The last possible second, like the dean, who would not strike because he's the dean, stepped up. He was on my committee already, but he stepped in to be like the co-advisor or the main advisor for the interim. Thank God, because spinning all of those plates of trying to like coordinate 11, 12 humans for 4 blood draws, for 3 interventions, for all the analysis afterwards, schedule a phlebotomist to just like, I need you to sit here for 3 months straight, please, and then just have it washed over the holidays. Basically, it would have, if we didn't do it right then, it would have pushed it until like probably December, January, where everybody's fucking off, and then reading week in February, whatever. Like, it would have been a nightmare. So like, when you're dealing with that, and then it's okay, sets and reps, make sure you book in this person's sessions for like 3 months at a time. Like, it's absolutely nothing. Like you said, once you calibrate everything towards that degree of ridiculously, life is just so straightforward.
Yeah, and it's funny because you see the people who have at least been to that razor's edge before. I'll give you an example. Lundo and I, we just got a bunch of tables and chairs in a truck that shouldn't have taken that many tables and chairs. But we thought about, and Lundy's like, his ability to make decisions is unlike, I mean, I would say unlike most people I've met, because everyone that I fuck with, everyone in this room and outside that door, has an ability to make decisions very quickly. And what trips people up in making decisions, especially with training, is like thinking about the consequences. Yeah. And it's like, if you've been to a place where the consequence is like, oh, fuck, okay, I've invested how much of my life into this. This is the precipice of my career. This is the turning point. You know, I'm at that point in a serious relationship. I've gone back to school now, this 1, 2, a third time. Fuck, another 6 months, it's going to set me back. This whole thing's already kind of set me back. When you have to make a decision of like, the leg press is being used, or they didn't have the D handle, or I had to do pull-ups rather than my favorite single arm lat row thing. You're like, what is the consequence? Lundy and I were looking at the tables, and Lundy goes, yeah, it's fine. What's the consequence? We lose a couple chairs if we have a good story. And it's like, is anyone dead? Nope, sick. Because that's like one of the things that you see and we try to impart, and you in the labs I think do a great job of this, is like, you know, your post about suboptimal is that's it. And a lot of people right now, when they seek out, you know, this secondary means of education that we provide, I think the real curriculum we provide is that ability is like, look, make a fucking decision, put your balls on the line. That's why I'm throwing fucking books at cameras and shit, because it's like, that is what slows the industry down, is like that pursuit of optimal. And it's like, look, yeah, go ahead, have your fucking dean have to step in to save your ass in the last moment, and then you realize that like, oh, okay, they can recalibrate for you.
Well, calibrated to, I refuse, like 3 degrees deep, like 2.5 at that stage, whatever.
Flex.
Fucking, well, the opposite side of that though is like, I'm also like 20 some odd.
Yo, risk, talk about it. Right?
Yeah. And I'm like, let's get my shit together. Like, let's actually start getting the career rolling. Like, I refuse to have this take longer than necessary, regardless of strike. So it's like, you make those decisions to fucking slam it all the way through, and then like you said, like, okay, well, my leg press is taken. That's not a hard decision anymore. Yeah. Like, oh, it's just literal effort is going to unify it. Effort got me through that. Effort's going to get this person to get the same level of progress or gains or whatever the fuck term we're going to throw at the internet. Like the backs and I just train legs. It was like roasting me because I'm done after X amount of sets. I'm like, yeah, it hurts. It's done.
Yeah.
I did it really well. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the right machine. Doesn't matter if it's the right joint angle. I did it really well, and it hurts, and I'm good.
The unification through effort might be the biggest fucking fitness mic drop ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, anything sent behind the woodshed is the same. Because you're still behind the woodshed, right? Yeah. Like, that's where you end up. That's where you arrive.
Well, it's this weird, like, because I've been on both sides of it, where I was heavily academic first with no experience, and I walk out and you try to do everything super optimal. And like, well, I was told it's supposed to be this exact amount of sets, this many reps, this exercise order, and that's how you make all the progress in the world. Oh, that's a real person with problems. Yeah. And like, they don't like certain things and they're not going to eat well. And you have to, okay, let's get some experience, build it up. Okay, well, this is what actually really works. So a lot of it's not in that book.
Right.
Okay, let's go back, get more education. Let's go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, it's a lot more straightforward than people think, but it allows you, I've said this in like a million labs. It's me and Bax to a T, actually, for that matter. You can either make like a shotgun blast approach and just like make sure the spread is covered and you're going to guarantee something good happens, or you can be a sniper and be able to like pick the shot that's the exact one. Right. Bax doing Bax tings. Both are going to work.
Right.
One might be a little bit more ambiguous, but you're still going to get there. You might have to try real hard, but you're still going to get there. Whereas like if you are able to use the academics right, it's something that sharpens that spread down to like the actual thing that you're trying to do.
Right.
That's the cohesiveness between like academics and experience that people don't. Everybody wants to just plant a flag in one side.
Yeah.
Like, fuck your academics.
Because it's hard to do both.
Yeah.
That's why. It's hard and expensive, and it takes longer to do both. Yeah. That's what it is. Because, like, don't get me wrong. There are people who are purely experiential that are autodidacts that have done both, and they've done it just very effectively, and they're incredibly smart. There are people who've gone the academic route and, like, have done the experience the whole time through. And they meet in the middle, and they break bread, and it's cool. But it's like, whenever I see a flag, I just see insecurity. It's like, all right, like what? You couldn't study and train at the same time? Or you're just studying the entire day? Like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly diet because I need to be in a caloric surplus to serve the world. Like, no, you're fucking undisciplined. Put down the fucking ho-ho, you piece of shit, and go in the gym. If you're about it, be about it. But then there's the other side. It's like, well, like, I train too many clients. It's like audio books. How long's your commute? Fuck off. Don't give me this bullshit that you're like, oh, you know, I got the School of Hard Knocks on blast. It's like, yeah, I've heard the Jay-Z song, you motherfucker. Like crack a book, better yourself. You know what I mean? Right. But like, whenever I see a flag, it's a red flag of insecurity, right? Which just makes me think, like, if you have an outcome that you're trying to reach and you're very passionate about it, nothing should get in the way. If you're like, oh, okay, I need to, if you want to be like, whatever, the best is probably just a subjective fulfillment thing at the end of the day. But it's like, whenever I see those flags go up, I'm like, oh, you're insecure that you haven't done everything that you're capable of to be better.
Yeah. I think this is the first time that we actually have people that are both, though.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was such a separation that people would just super lean into. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. I know what I'm doing. Like, bro science, the biggest dude in the gym is the guy you learn from, versus like the white coat doctor that fucking smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. Right? That was like our parents' generation. Like, and then our generation is the first evolution of that.
What's the job interview here?
Yeah.
Is like, can you do both? Right? Because we literally have both. Yeah. Like, because whenever I talk about like the autodidact, self-taught experience guy, like Killian is the guy that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. Like, Killian is one of the few coaches that I've hired to do my programming, and just like because he's always in a book. He's in some obscure, weird books, and he's reading fucking French Impressionist art books or whatever. And then because he looks at training and goes, oh, okay, yeah, this, all right, here's a bunch of philosophy that works. And you're like, oh shit, that's real. And then it's like, on the other side of it, it's like you have Dwayne.
Yeah.
Right? They work for the same company. Dwayne is a career academic, like has lived in a lab. And you and Dwayne are in like a similar vein. But it's like, we're all in a similar vein because we all meet in the middle.
Yeah. And
there's no flags. And the flag is the simplicity of sub-optimality. You're just like, yeah, the calibration of effort is fucking, the unification of effort is everything.
I think it's a very scarcity mindset thing.
Interesting. Go.
Because like the people that are going to plant a flag and just like use that as some form of marketing, some sort of superiority. Like, I have all the experience, I have all the academics. If you're in academics, or you're really all experiential, one of the hottest taglines to roast the other one about is like, academics is only validating the things that we know from Arnold or whatever
Right, yeah,
pinpoint in history you're going to use. If you're in academics, you're like, yeah, it actually is. Like if you actually lift weights and you actually train, so yeah, we kind of know how all this stuff works just from being on the floor. I'm like, now it makes a little bit more in-depth sense. The extent to which I don't need to explain too much to the average person.
Right.
I just need to make sure my sets and reps line up with what makes sense.
Yeah.
But like my entire thesis, I kind of knew how it was going to go, but academics is trying to like contribute one nugget on top of the pile of actual provable is not necessarily the right term for it, but like
best practices,
studied knowledge, best practices, stuff like that. Like you're trying to progress it one tiny kernel more because of the constraints of the scientific method. You actually have to try real hard to not fuck this up to be able to make any kind of a definitive statement at all. But all of them are just kind of back validating. Like if you're trying, the good in kinesiology studies are the ones that are like, how will this actually help me on the gym floor?
Right.
Some of the best academics that actually make the biggest difference are trying to validate methods or find improvements or alternative methods to the things that are the most prevalent within the field.
Yeah.
Intensity or effective repetitions versus absolute volume. It's a very long like debate back and forth about what is the actual primary driver of, say, hypertrophy, because I am the hypertrophy guy. And they're just a proxy for each other. But nobody really wants to go down that route, because I've talked to Killian about this, and he's a good one to bring up in that respect, because I went the road of academics and trying to have a deeper, more mechanistic understanding of what's happening. He is a fucking construction guy.
Yeah.
I say that with endearment.
Oh, dude.
Right? But we meet in the middle. Like he'll bring something to me, and I said that I just using different term. Exactly what you just framed to me. I said that in another lab in just different terminology. You got there. Because there's only so many ways to get there.
I think there's only one way to get there, and it's just through experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's just like the experience of coming in from a lab into the gym, or coming in fucking, leaving your hard hat and work boots at the door. But it's like, I think the unification of effort is that, because when I look at both of you guys train, that's where the middle's met. Right? Like that's the back of the woodshed that you both meet at, and you're like, oh, you made it. Yeah. All right, we've arrived. This is it. Okay, sick. How did you get here? How do you verbalize, or how do you communicate how you got here? It doesn't matter, you're here. Right? So and that's a cool, I really like that contrast, because like personality wise, like I never know where he is. I never know where I am, but I never know where Killian is. Just like your bizarro world each other.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're chilling, you're writing all day, you're researching and you're synthesizing, and he's eating Cuban food in South Beach, just like off his fucking nut in some weird art gallery somewhere. But he's like, this Saison photo reminds me of a hack squat. And it's like, what the fuck is this Instagram post I'm reading? But and then you meet in the gym and you're like, oh, both these guys can't breathe because they fucking just full send. I love it, man. Now, more specifically on the research you've done going into your master's, because like you were kind of alluding to it at the end of that, where you're just like, okay, this specific subset we're just trying to validate, but potential mechanisms to sprinkle on the top and just move the thing forward. Yeah. What was your main focus, and what have you kind of extracted out of that from like a technical perspective? Yeah,
we started with this before, and it was the academic advisor has like what the lab group kind of studies in general, and ideally you sort of pocket yourself in what they're already doing, because they may have funding for that topic already. Otherwise you're kind of footing the bill yourself, or you're going to do something that doesn't require a lot of money. Right. He was doing exercise immunology is his specialty. He was researching something called myokines, which you can intercellular signaling. You can think of like super micro hormones that amplify, like it's part of that whole system down the line at some point, or just similar premises. Nobody fact check me because I'm too lazy to actually. We're not doing that.
No one knows what these words mean.
Yeah. But I was interested at the time because it was, it comes and goes in waves, but blood flow restriction had sort of exploded around that time a little bit. And I used it in my training, not perfectly correct, which is what I obviously through studying found out. But that was my interest at the time. And how do we marry those two? Well, we don't know why specifically low load blood flow restriction, that style of training, can elicit similar in research settings hypertrophy as your standard style. Right. So okay, maybe it's myokines. Maybe that's it. Maybe we'll take these 3 or 4 that are known to have potentially anabolic properties. We'll track them, their appearance after an acute bout of regular exercise versus blood flow restricted. maybe the difference there, if it's not load that is causing more or more tension or what have you, that's causing more in the standard, more hypertrophy from the standard style, maybe there's just an amplification of myokines because of blood flow restriction. And that was it. That's how we married it. And cool, let's go do that study. So purchased the blood flow restriction technology, which is actually a giant pain in the ass. And that was the first step towards understanding probably practical applicability, and that's sort of amplified all the way through my career and my life since then.
Right.
Is to do it properly, especially in an academic setting, you need as many controls as humanly possible. What that means is we're going to use blood pressure cuffs and try to do exercise with them on while also holding the pressure at a stable whatever.
Right.
It's like if you were an exercise physiology at all and you're trying to do a Wingate test, like, yeah, make sure you're taking their or any sort of graded cycling test or aerobic test. Make sure you take their blood pressure and their heart rate while they're doing it intermittently. And it's like, that seems absurd and would never actually happen in real life. Me attaching full-on blood pressure cuffs to your thighs and being like, let's go exercise.
Yeah.
I'm going to pump these up. I'm going to track all this stuff and we're going to just walk around like this. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So that spiraled into, how do I make all of this information? My study actually got published because I found out it didn't work. But one of the tracking myokines, I figured out one tiny little nugget about that was different than what they originally understood. That's all it takes. Like, write it really well, deliver it really well, but like, that was the sprinkling of new knowledge on top that got me published. But in doing all of that, it was like, so I just spent all this time, effort, money, nearly had it go fucking sideways to basically learn that it's a intensification technique, not the same, but kind of the same as like doing like legendary drop sets. You're just using metabolic stress through an obscene exercise protocol to hit an intensification on whatever muscle you're trying to train so that it gets to a similar endpoint as if you just used regular load. That's a great summation of it. And the value therein is if you're injured, if you're like low load in a gym, like there's just no equipment, there's nothing really there. That's where it becomes really handy because you can get that effect, not necessarily using it all the time because like all exercise modalities, you're going to have a diminishing returns. But it's that nice little spike technique in case of emergency, break glass, use this.
Dude, it's my go-to hotel workout technique. Because I just put the rubber bands in there and I fucking cinch them up like Ray Charles hitting the hair on, and I just go curl 20-pound dumbbells for like a half hour. And that's like that. And I'm in hotels fairly infrequently, the novelty of it. And it's like that summation or that summary really put it in perspective.
But the spiral off of that is like, oh, I'm not going to use this all the time. Makes no sense. I'm going to use the other thing that has other secondary benefits that are better, like strength, progressive increases in that, because that's like going to raise the ceiling a lot more than glycolytic improvements. Like, that's still sweet, go team. But like, if you're trying to build strength, trying to build muscle, like err on the side of always using more load when you have to or when you can. But it was like, all right, so this whole system is dumb. Not going to name names, but this whole system works for the academic setting because it has to be under controls. But in practice, let's take some knee wraps. Let's take some literal first aid tourniquets, use it around the arms, something that you can just carry around. It's super simple. And it's not going to be perfect because it's not what in my study, it has to be exactly X percentage of your occlusion pressure. It's not going to be that, but it's going to be close enough and you're going to get a similar effect. And that's what kind of spiraled into my entire premise of like, it doesn't have to be like a dartboard perfect at all times or else you make no gains, which is kind of what a lot of people think about everything if they've only gone through the academic system.
Yeah, and that's where like, for those of you on the outside looking in, your role in like the literature review component and just really the Prescript Collective on the whole, because we had, honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest, we were very concerned about the direction and tone coming out of circles within the company. Like that was an issue of like, man, they're losing it. Like, you know, we're trying to be heavily academic to those looking for continuing education, but there was a tone shift of that seeking perfection and optimality in the way we train. And it was just like, you know, me and him, and at the time, like Killian, we're just like all sitting in the gym. We're like, man, what the fuck are these kids talking about? What is going on? And we're just killing ourselves with barbells day in and day out. And we go in for an hour and we lecture, and then, you know, I think Killian was probably the first one to bring it to my attention. He's like, dude, what the fuck is happening, man? Like, you know, these posts that are going up, it's like, dude, don't tell me, show me. Like, dude, but I think your ability to just not break stride, not break eye contact, look everyone dead in the eye and be like, okay, I'm gonna understand literature better than all of you to a point where you can understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you that we need to get back into the gym and we need to focus on what matters. Because like there's been a serious shift in tone of people who have entered in, and I think it's been a big differentiator for the company in the continuing education space, because it was a cold war of academic dick slapping. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this. But it's like, yeah, you do know who needs to hear this. You're shit posting someone else on the way they think. Imagine not liking someone because of the way they exercise. Like, are you fucking joking me? But then, like, since the collective has started, since the literature review has started, you start to realize that, because I think people strive for that level, right? Like, people, if they're more experiential, they're coming into continuing education platforms for that education. And the real education, and like, you can only really be taught it by someone who's gone through it. Yeah. But what they need to learn is like, okay, yes, here's let's go through and break down the abstract into the methods, into the subject, all the way to discussion at the end. And what have we learned? Yeah. Full send. I'll see you behind the woodshed.
Yep. Yeah, right. And bridging the gap between information and application is exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's such a buzzword, because rarely do people themselves have been on both sides, right? Like, you cannot map that terrain unless you've traversed, like, oh yeah, no, I've been across this gap before, I know how to do it, right? And there's few people who've had like the patience, the discipline, but ultimately I think just the passion to be like, yeah, I'm going to figure out this goat path between the two. And that's the real value, is like, when you're sitting in a lit review, I think people are expecting like, confidence intervals and P scores and like, great, I'm going to post about this. It's like, no, this is how you're going to train. That's the whole point of this, is not to just have this, this academic superiority. It's like, what academic superiority is? That fucking arm. That is the strong arm of academics, right? It's like, it is what it is.
Well, there was early in the collective, there was a post, I think that maybe it was pre-collective. Like circa whatever, but like Mac made a post on the Prescript page, like I think he was quoting or promoting the skill acquisition course, and he drew like a quote from like something about the music thing.
Right, like notes versus composition and the 3 stages,
something to that effect. And like someone raised they raised a point, like, because it was exactly what you're saying, like the academic dick slapping. I was like, would you have a citation for that? And it's like, it's an Instagram post. But the second that happened, that set me off. Like, I bloodhounded the shit out of that thing, because I'm like, if someone on the internet is going to cite that, and like, I guarantee you don't have the papers,
right?
You don't know what you're reading. Even if it says something like statistical significance, you don't know what that means. You don't know what an effect size is, and you don't understand whether or not that should actually dictate best practice moving forward.
Probably has small arms too.
That too.
Yeah, real small arms. Because like, because you know where the citation is? At the end of Killian's ball peen hammer. Because if that psychopath gets on a plane, he's going to bury your skull in.
That's what
God love him.
There's this misconception about something, like, things can be factually correct, but practically irrelevant.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if something is statistically significant, that means that it didn't occur necessarily due to chance.
Right.
But people will take clinical significance, right? But they'll take that term significance and just presume, because it is significant, they'll blow that into magnitude. Significance equals magnitude. That's not the same thing. What is the effect size? How much of a difference between A and B? How much of a difference does that actually have long term on my return on investment gains wise? Does it make a difference? Eccentric hypertrophy training.
Okay.
Do you know anybody that does that?
No.
Technically, it's been shown to be superior than concentric hypertrophy training. You know why you don't do that?
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
it's overload.
So it's like, here's this thing that's technically correct, but in actual practical application, that's silly. Yeah. Why would you ever do that long term? Like, you'd have to grab a training partner. Like,
yeah, wow.
Like, what do you, like, to do eccentric overload training? Like, cool, buddy, you're not training today because you're lifting all my things, so I can just like slowly lower it over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it's like, something can be absolutely in a lab, in a vacuum, correct, statistically significant, and show better hypertrophy response. But the actual thing you care about, the end of day results, and the ability to actually do the thing long term, like, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, understanding absolute and relative outcomes is such a huge thing. Like, I remember being taught it wasn't Wogdog, Doogie, who was going over the efficacy of it was how they fudged the results of relative of absolute between flu shots. Like, the percentage of like how they come like, oh, you're 78% less likely to get the flu. And it's like, that's an absolute, not a relative value. You're actually like 0.68% less likely relatively to get it, not get it, than if you have the flu shot versus not. So it's so, again, Instagram, I think, has been a net positive. Social media has been a net positive, but like, it's a complete other side. Like, I did a presentation in the UK and I put up a picture of like, there's a company called Shreds. It was a protein, whatever, supplement company years ago. And there was like a big outrage or outcry because they were photoshopping their pictures and the guy was on drugs. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you not know that? Like, that's, but there's a weird revenge of the nerds thing. And it's like, you know, people are using research and wielding this in the same way they were using Photoshop. And like, just that phrase, fuck, I talk about it every day. Like, where's the footnote citation for that? It's like, one of the reasons I enjoy fitness is it actually allows me to be creative. It allows me to be original. And there's one thing that this endeavor lacks. And the only way you could be creative is if you can see both sides, right? And the only way you can see both sides is if you've gone through both sides, frankly. Or you at least can, you know, I can converse with someone who's heavily academic, who's also heavily trained. Yeah. I can converse with someone with a lot of experience who's also very well read, right? But it's like that idea, like I had someone reach out the other day. I talked about overstimulus versus, or progressive overload being a form of progressive overstimulus. Like, where can I read more about this? It's like, I just said it. I thought of it. It was an idea that came to my head and I thought of it. It's like, okay, here's what you do. You graduate from Riverside High School and then you start studying history and political science. And, oh, you have to have these parents who think this way. It's like, be fucking original. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's like, you know, the fact that you went through your research and were like, actually, this myokine that we all think does this is actually this. Yeah. But that's an original idea, right? Even it might be expressed through this research study, but original ideas can come from both sides if they see both sides. And this fucking industry is so scared to put their fucking balls on the line and be like, this is what I think. And I have the body of work, both academically and I'm fucking put 300 plus pounds over my head. I have an arm that looks like a bouncer at Roadhouse. Like, you can sit there and be like, because again, consequence. It's like, oh, like, did you not have a study for this idea of progressive overstimulus? It's like, yeah, here, I'll show you my fucking powerlifting numbers. I'll show you my body composition and my weight. I'll give you my fucking home address. And if you want to duke it out over a footnote citation, that footnote citation will be my foot in your fucking ass. Like, it's just such a pussy industry that fronts is like, oh, like, you know, we're just this high and mighty thing. It's like, all right, fucking put your money where your mouth is.
Well, it gets exhausting because it turns into semantic arguments. Because if someone's going to raise that point, where's the footnote citation? I'll find it. Yeah. And then you won't read it. You won't understand it. And I did all that work for nothing when it is like, well, I'm just going to. Not a lot because I'm very non-vocal on social media. I knew
You're
that
fucking
in
oracle
advance.
is what you are.
Yeah.
Like if it need be, I'll come out of the woodwork. But like,
yeah, he comes out of the like a dad. If he comes out over that front doorstep, whoa, you better
I'm
run.
not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That's most of my social media posts. Is like, because you have to be at.
That's such a level of confidence, though. That's such. I write back so many things. Like I never hit reply. I never hit publish.
Just write it out.
Like, listen here, cocksucker. Yeah. Like, you have you did a mentorship. Are you joking me? I've forgotten more shit than you've ever done. And I just don't send it. I just fucking close the app. I'm like, oh. But for you to have, like, the confidence to just be like, oh, like, you just don't understand this. Like, that's okay. And I do. And you can either approach this in a way like you want to get better on either side. And I have more experience and I have more academic prowess and I can explain them both to you if you'd like, or you could sit here and be a cunt and that seems like your problem and I'm just gonna go back and play with my cats.
Well, you hit on something there where it's like, can you explain to a level of detail that will help unravel this for whoever you're trying to teach, right? In everything I've ever taught, every person I've ever trained, I want them to be able to ask me the 4-year-old asking why ad infinitum and be able to like be annoyed, but I can dig through like all of the knowledge that I've ever got, all the experience, be like, yeah, okay, if you really want to know, this is why, this is why, this is why. I can do that on the opposite side with someone that's right and why it doesn't matter. I can undress your argument in a way that still says that you're right, because you may be, in terms of the actual hardline factual whatever.
Right.
But in terms of making this applicable, making this useful, yeah, it doesn't matter. And here is also why. Because logic through experience.
Yeah.
Like in an academic vacuum, yeah, that's right. In getting Mary to do anything that you just said for the 0.01% of optimality that it may offer her. Because that's what a lot of people that are especially just getting started or wherever their entry point is in education in this field, they forget that your baseline of not doing anything for most people, like we have clinicians, we have coaches, we have strength conditioning, we have like more niche things. We also have a shitload of personal trainers.
Yeah.
They're just getting started, right? And the enemy is doing nothing. The enemy is atrophy. The enemy is unhealth. So X style that is optimal but not ever going to be practically applicable to someone, the gap between doing it suboptimally and nothing is enormous, whereas the gap between suboptimal and optimal is like, why are you worried about this?
You're my favorite Trojan horse. Because like when I think people, again, people get drawn into Prescript through different characters, right? Some people come, all like you and Patty B are just like steak boys that do snatches and fucking clean and jerks and then wear weird socks and stuff and listen to fucking Champagne Poppy. Like, and people come, like, I really like the Adderall demented rants. Like, all right, I'm going to come for Shallow. Or like, I like crime and violence and interpretive art. Like, I come in through Killian. I love French films or whatever the fuck this kid's into this week. What it's like, or Schultz or Big Phil or Dwayne. But I think you're the ultimate Trojan horse because, like, you listen back to this podcast. There's not been a or an or a break. Like this guy's just been, and this is just off the cuff shit. And this is not something you do every day in this setting. So like when people come to the literature review and they get to know a little bit, they read your stuff on Barbend, they've heard about like what you do in Prescript, or they know your academic background. Like, oh, I'm going to go to the literature review. And it's like, I got you, bitch. Gotcha. Because I think people that are drawn to you are like, I want to know things that well that I can be that like, listen to me, I'm fucking rambling like an idiot. But you just like even keel, dismantle everything, and you arrive at the point of like, all right, try harder. Like
the
you and Killian,
voice of reason,
right? But you guys both say like, okay, nothing matters until it matters in two very different ways. And I think a lot of people get drawn to him, and they end up thinking way deeper about training than they probably thought they would. And because they're like, oh, this guy just fucking sends it and does pull-ups all the time and front squats and goes to Mexico and drinks expensive fucking tequila for a week. Like, he's just such a degenerate. But you get to know him, like, oh, he's actually the most thoughtful person you ever meet. People come to you as like, oh man, this guy's like academic, masters, nutrition, kinesiology. I'm going to really come in, and then you're just the bait and switch. And then you sit through a lit review on the collective, or you sit through a technique lab, and you take people who are like, oh, I want to weaponize this information, and I want to be the smartest person on the internet. It's like, and you're like, why don't you be the biggest guy in the gym? Or why don't you be the guy that the trainer or your clients like the most? That'll ultimately get the results. And those people, like, as much as it's nice to take, the experiential crowd and like watch Killian actually mold them to be more mindful and more academic in the way they pursue their training. It's, I think right now where the industry's at, it's at least equally valuable to see those people that are really looking like, oh, he's going to go through literature and I'm going to be able to argue with them, and then you just take them and bring them right back. And it's that unity of effort, like you said, like that to me is so nice to see, because it was a big problem. It was it was conversations where we're like, fuck man, like I don't want to, like I felt like Lucius Fox, where it's like, oh no, we've made this technology that's too powerful and it's not being used for the wrong reasons, and everyone's just running around writing posts about stuff that doesn't matter, and they're missing the stuff that does matter. And you're like, I got it, hold on, come into the collective, we'll do lit review, technique, and then we're going to bring everyone back to like the dope shit in the middle.
That's like I almost feel like we're catfishing by calling it a lit review, because if anybody like Dwayne, he knows what lit review is. I'm not gonna scour. I've done hypertrophy, I've done sports psych. There are a lot of broad topics, like sports psychology. Am I gonna like till through all of the literature in every fiber, every prong of what you can consider sports psych and just present it as vomit, like people, their eyes will bleed. How do I also, through my experience, against like as like thematic on the day, how do I use the experience to know what is actually going to be useful to someone,
right,
and then distill the literature of those things into something that's actually actionable?
Yeah.
Like what did I just do? Strength training, same thing. All the hot topics like your RPE, RIR, 1RM, velocity, things of that nature. How to, like explaining how we went from a Borg scale of RPE using cardiovascular like 8 through 20 or whatever it is.
I remember that.
To let's just do 1 to 10. It makes more sense. Like bringing all the things experientially that I know like you will actually use in your programs in real life with a real human. Do the lit review there and then distill it in such a way that they can actually understand.
Yeah.
One of the things that I started doing in the lab, but it's too difficult to in that kind of a shotgun hour while also doing the Q&A style stuff. I was trying to break down, like let's go through an actual paper, not literally a paper at the time, but like, okay, what's the abstract? What's the purpose? How do you interpret what it means? All that kind of stuff. What's the intro? What's going to be in the methods? What is generalizability versus specificity? Like a ton of what is the p-value? A ton of these things that as you if you're not abstract warrioring the whole thing, that you would need to know to actually take value from research. Again, if you're actually reading research, it was too dense for that format. So I will go back as the re-release or whenever it comes out, or even just like posting it in the Discord. Here's a written format of what I was trying to say about those topics. Mm-hmm. Because that's another thing that people, as I said earlier about p-value, significance, orders of magnitude of like relevance and effect size, they have no idea what any of these words mean.
Right.
They have no idea what they're actually reading. They'll read the abstract, go straight to the conclusion, have no idea that there's an entire discussion that is really meaty, that is talking about all the limitations, all the perspectives, all the like, maybe it was this, maybe it was this, maybe it was this. How do I actually put this into practice based upon all of that knowledge as well? Because you can only make definitives. You can't make really definitives, but you can only deliver a conclusion that you can actually stand on. So is this going to be assaulted by other peers? Is this going to be assaulted by other people in the field? What can you actually deliver with whatever word salad you want that will stop someone from being able to undress that argument based upon the data that you've collected? If you just go straight to the conclusion, you have no idea about all those layers to what this research has actually like seen or can deliver to you.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to implement. And I will go back and make it a written format, which is strange that I'm going through and like taking a Zoom-based format, an interactive-based format, and be like, okay, we can't do that. It's too dense. They'll never get anything from that. And delivering it in written, which in this field right now is like the furthest from digestible, but we're making it cool again.
I just think it's just, I remember my first YouTube video that I put out. And I put it out with a guy with a big YouTube following. And I was so nervous. And then, I made sure that he's like, hey, I want you to do a YouTube video on Thursday. I was like, okay, so I'll stop sleeping on Sunday and I'll stay up till Thursday and I'll put it up. But it's like the idea of just being formidable, I think, is something like being unfuckwithable, being academically or experientially unimpeachable is something that I would say 99% of people don't pursue that at all or think of that before they open their mouth. And then the 1% that does, if you do make a mistake, is either A, too busy working on their own shit, or B, too professional to reach out and lash out. So it's like whenever you get any sort of like backlash or you make a statement or it's not digested the right way, it's like if someone knows it's maybe a misinterpretation, you have to know the entire process to know it's a misinterpretation, right? And if you think it's just wrong, then you're just an idiot. Right. So I think it's like that idea of like the collective on the whole is to take, all right, we have core curriculum, we have a barbell, we have Olympic weightlifting, we have skill acquisition, we have level 1, we have level 2, we have body composition nutrition, we have sports performance nutrition, we have programming coming up, we have the breathing course coming up. What else do we have? I'm missing hypertrophy, gut health, and we have rehab principles coming out in 2023. Yeah. So we have all this curriculum. But it's like, okay, let's reinforce this. So that's been like the best thing I've seen, really, from like a brand perspective. We're seeing people be formidable and be able to take, not just like abstract warriors, to be able to understand these layers. And that that depth is really, I think, what the industry lacks, because it is just, all right, 140 characters or less, try and prove to people on the internet that you're smart with a picture and a swipe. So that's you, dog.
That's something I'm very passionate about is the understand, because I have the degrees, I have certifications, I've done a ton of them.
The arms.
And realizing how, and it's not necessarily in the purview of every certification, but you get these things and then you're kind of out on your own.
Yeah.
There's no one kind of hand holding you through. You just did the academic, we'll call all certifications, lump all of it in there with that, the academic work, the book learning. You just did all that, but there's no one that's actually trying to bridge the gap and hand hold you through experiencing it on the field so you can actually understand in practice how impactful it is to do things right, do things wrong, learn what works in what scenario, and so on and so forth. And that's the power of like what we've done through the development of the labs and just the organic growth there. Yeah. And that was a huge thing that I wanted to do with the technique labs as well. It's something that I experienced and wanted to do. It's an old like West Side Elite FDS style, like seeing them train as training partners in groups.
Yeah.
Even if they're just shouting cues that they know that person needs, it could be nonsensical, it could whatever, right? But there's like a group of people that are all trained together. It's a bunch of coaches, sets of eyes on the person training. Not only are those coaches getting perspective over and over, they're seeing hundreds of reps all the time, and it's going to expedite how fast they're going to understand what they're going to see in other people.
Right.
That other person is experiencing the lift itself and the power of, okay, if I fuck up this technique in this way, this is what's going to happen. Like, if you're paying attention, you actually can become, this is going to sound profound, if you pay attention, you'll get better faster. But that's what was severely lacking.
Yeah.
And just being able to take something as simple as reviewing the footage of the coaches themselves training, which is another thing that there's no, at least there was when I was still in person, there's an alarming amount of trainers that don't train, or at least train hard or for a specific goal.
Right.
To understand that as well, because your clients will be, and you have to understand that process too.
Yeah.
But just to expedite, here is PSL1, here is skill acquisition, here's whatever. I'm as diversely knowledgeable in all of those things, not necessarily to the point where I would stand in front of the lecturer and like overtake them teaching it. Like, you guys are still the experts in those courses, but I can sit back in a secondary lab setting and make sure that as they go through all these reps of seeing X person's deadlift, their squat, their bench, their overhead press, their, for love of God, everybody bring actual machine work, bring something that's not a barbell, right? But anything that you may see in the field, giving them those reps over and over and over in the place where they can get feedback on their own technique to improve, but also an understanding of how they may see this in the field themselves and what to do about it, or what test to take, what movement restriction to clear through backs, and what have you, right? That is the thing that through collective, through all the labs we've done, like the standard labs, the technique lab, all of them, as well as any and all the stuff through like the Discord server, the interactions there, like that's the thing that the industry lacks severely, is the people that want to come out and be like, okay, I gave you this certification. Usually that's my stamp of approval. I don't give away a stamp of approval really easily.
No, you don't.
You may have,
He's that, man. I still remember the first time Bugera said he was proud of me.
Like, you may have a piece of paper, but I want to make sure, like, that you understand this to the level that I would hope you would if you're going to be applying whatever craft that we just gave you. If you're going to apply that to your own, like, I want you to be able to do it as well as possible, and with confidence too, right?
That's big. I think because there's such an emphasis on the industry, obviously over time, like the quality assurance of reps. It's like, okay, yeah, technique, we get it, but there's no one yet, and like you're the first person that I've seen do this, and like the collective is obviously like, you know, between you and Killian with the emerging ideas and all that offers, the quality assurance of mental reps.
Yeah.
Because mental reps has just been like this self-serving, self-biasing jerk-off thing that people do. But it's like, no, you're going to go in and you're going to have a room of your peers, and with no ego, and with no other motivation that because they hold the same title as you, they've gone through the same programs as you, they want to make sure that there's not someone to jerk off who's going through with like this as like part of their sales pitch or part of their credentials that's fucking this up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's everyone's best interest, and everyone comes in with like no egos. There's never been any contention, because everyone's like, we're all going to quality assure our mental reps, because it's as important. We actually talk about like mental reps in the L2 as part of the motor learning process and cerebrocerebellar pathways and all that deep fun shit. But it's like, that's really what I think the collective is quality assurance of mental reps, because as a coach, like that is not your bread and butter, but is as important as the quality assurance of the technical reps. Because if your mental reps aren't there, then the how it falls, pales in comparison to the importance of the why, the when, the who, the what, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm stoked, man. I've been like, the collective right now has been the thing that I've been most excited about. And, with obviously Killian bringing in the emerging ideas, but having your hand in the Discord channel, the Technique Lab, and the Lit Review, like, I think we just changed the collective name to the Bugera Show. It's like, it's the Bugera Variety Hour. But I think this gives this will give a lot of insight to people that are listening to this. But, oh, okay. That's the engine in the middle of this thing. Like, I think people were worried that it was just me yelling more. It's like, no, I'm not allowed in there. It's like, I'm just allowed on the podcast and throwing shit here. This is the level head that's in the middle of that. So, dude, I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
Now,
Absolutely.
Bugera's not big on social media, but bug the shit out of them. Bugera?
Full name, Eric Bugera.
Eric, why did I know it's your email?
Yeah.
Bugera. So, I just gave that away.
Just any tag you want, just try them all. But
Yeah, Eric Bugera on Instagram. You can find him in the Prescript Collective on our Discord channel. Monthly literature reviews, weekly technique labs with Kyle Baxter.
Yeah.
It's like Casey and JoJo. It's like one of the best double features going right now. If you don't know Casey and JoJo, you don't know music. Am I right, Lundy? Yeah, he knows. He knows. That's all right, man. I appreciate you taking the time coming out with seminar this weekend. So guys, obviously any of you guys in the collective know the value that Bugera brings to the table. Anyone looking to check out what we're doing, just go to prescript.com, pre-script.com, and then collective is the main tab on the main menu. You can find him in there. It's the Oracle. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming out.
of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.